Because a report, and Ms. Alexandra, you were part of this report by the Norwegian the Refugee Council that essentially highlighted a really alarming situation for thousands of children in Iraq who right now don't really have a country that they can call home. In fact, they're probably in a position where nobody wants them.
Yeah, so our research found that an estimated 45,000 children in displacement camps in Iraq are missing civil documentation, specifically birth certificates. And this problem actually impacts children beyond, it's beyond children whose parents or relatives may have ties to ISIS, but actually impacts children whose parents fled ISIS's brutal rule. It impacts children whose parents had their IDs confiscated while living under ISIS control, and children whose parents' IDs may have been confiscated for one reason or another by the Iraqi government. It's something that needs to be addressed immediately and largely impacts children under 5 or 6 who were born during ISIS's rule.
So this is, you mentioned, largely impacts children under the age of 5 or 6. What about if, do you have an idea, is this research conveyed, what is the majority of these children, which age group are they in?
Yeah, that's the age group. They're very young, under 5 or 6, born in the last 5 years. But it's actually not something that has stopped. Every day there are children who are born without birth certificates because their parents have still not been able to obtain IDs for one reason or another. So it's something that could spiral if it's not immediately addressed.
And why are they considered stateless, considering they were born in Iraq and would essentially have at least a place of birth, a sort of an Iraqi birth certificate or a passport?
Yes, well, they're not, they're at risk of statelessness. So there's still an opportunity to resolve this issue. The problem is that they are born without birth certificates or passports. And I'll give you an example. We spoke to one woman whose husband was killed in an airstrike, is living now in a camp alone, has 3 children without any documentation, and she wants to get the documentation for these children, but she needs their father's ID in order to get the birth certificate. So it's a very complex system, the civil documentation system here in Iraq, and it's overwhelmed. So it's really a number of issues that is leading to this problem.
And there must also be a very wide range of nationalities here, of mothers that have these children that were born in these camps or born during this time, because as Matthew mentioned, there has been an exodus of fighters from across the Middle East, across the world, and these women were with the fighters moving around in these conflict zones.
Yes, I mean this number actually is mostly includes Iraqis. Actually, there are in Baghdad there you'll find a number of children of foreign fighters or foreign women in detention centers or in orphanages. But we were focusing on the plight of actually Iraqi children who are born in Iraqi territory and the challenges that they face even in their own country.
And could you give us an idea of what kind of future lies ahead if this situation is not resolved anytime soon for these children?
Yeah, well, at the moment, they are not able to access the same services as other Iraqi citizens or exercise the same rights as other Iraqi citizens. So, for example, if you don't have an ID, you can't attend formal schools. And if, in many cases, there are exceptions made and children can attend classes, but they won't be able to matriculate in the future. They won't be able to access formal employment if this issue is not resolved immediately, and they won't be able to travel through checkpoints across their own country. There's still an opportunity to address this issue now while they're young, but if this issue is not addressed, then they're essentially going to have different rights as their fellows.